She was just a toddler, alone on the side of Boulder Highway at dawn, but when Keanu Reeves stopped to help, she looked up and asked, "Are you the guardian they sent?" What began as a roadside rescue quickly spiraled into a cosmic secret and a decision that could determine the fate of Earth. Before we continue this incredible story, let us know where you're watching from. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to the channel, because tomorrow we have another inspiring story you won't want to miss. The first light of dawn crept across the desert sky as Keanu Reeves guided his motorcycle along Boulder Highway. The wind rushed past his face, cool and dry, tinged with the scent of creosote and sand. Behind him, the lights of Henderson dimmed into the distance. Ahead, the horizon began to bloom in hues of lavender, gold, and soft coral. It was the kind of morning that made the world feel quiet and still, like it hadn't quite woken up yet. Keanu welcomed the silence. After a long night spent at a children's charity gala, his mind was full of images that refused to let go. He had knelt beside hospital beds, shaken tiny hands wrapped in gauze, and smiled through tears as he listened to stories no child should have to tell. There was one little boy, Ethan, only 5 years old, who had slipped a drawing into Keanu's jacket pocket. It showed a rocket ship with stick figures waving from the windows. Underneath, the boy had written in shaky letters, "Thank you for seeing me." That simple line had stayed with him all night. As the motorcycle hummed beneath him, Keanu thought about his own childhood. The empty rooms, the hushed arguments behind doors, the long stretches of time when he'd felt invisible. He didn't talk about it often, but the ache of loneliness never truly left. It just became quieter with time. That was why events like last night mattered to him. Not just the money raised, but the moments of connection, the reminder that someone saw you, that you mattered. The desert stretched out on both sides of the highway. Flat, dusty plains broken only by brittle shrubs and scattered rocks. The mountains on the horizon stood like silent sentinels, their silhouettes still dark against the growing light. Keanu adjusted his grip on the handlebars and leaned slightly into the wind. The hum of the road under his tires, the open sky, and the sheer solitude of this stretch of highway made him feel alive in a way few things could. But then, something changed. About 50 yards ahead, near the edge of the shoulder, he spotted movement. It was small, still, out of place. At first, he thought it might be a dog curled up in the dirt or a discarded bag catching the breeze, but the shape didn't shift with the wind. It didn't twitch or move like an animal either. Something about it made his pulse slow down and his focus sharpen. He eased off the throttle, the motorcycle's engine lowering to a soft rumble. As he coasted closer, the shape became clearer. It wasn't trash. It wasn't an animal. It was a child. Keanu's heart began to hammer in his chest. He pulled the motorcycle to the shoulder with practiced calm and stopped just a few feet from where the child sat. He turned off the engine. The sudden silence rang in his ears. Removing his helmet, he set it gently on the seat and took a step forward, his boots crunching against the gravel. He didn't want to startle her. The little girl was sitting cross-legged in the dirt, her back to the road, facing the vast expanse of the desert beyond. She couldn't have been more than 3 years old. Her small hands rested neatly in her lap, and her head was tilted slightly upward, as if watching something only she could see. Keanu glanced around. There were no other vehicles, no buildings, no signs of a campsite or any adults nearby. Nothing. Just the quiet hum of the wind and the stillness of morning. The girl's clothing caught his eye immediately. It shimmered oddly in the light, sometimes silver, sometimes a soft shade of blue. It reminded him of the way oil slicks danced across puddles after a rainstorm. Shimmering, shifting, not like any fabric he had ever seen. He took another cautious step closer. "Hey there," he said gently, crouching to her level. "Are you okay?" The girl turned to face him slowly. Her eyes were pale blue, almost white, and for a brief moment Keanu could have sworn they glowed. But the morning sun was behind her now. Maybe it was just a trick of the light. She didn't look afraid. That was the first strange thing. Most children would have been sobbing, terrified, lost. But she simply blinked at him, her expression calm and oddly serene, her lips parted slightly. "Are you the guardian they sent?" she asked. Keanu stared at her, caught off guard by the question. Her voice was clear and soft, but not childish. There was a sharpness in her words that felt older than her years, like she knew exactly what she was saying. "I'm just a guy who saw you sitting here," he said, keeping his tone kind and steady. "My name's Keanu. What's yours?" The girl stood up in one graceful motion. Not clumsy like most toddlers, no wobble, no hesitation. Every movement was fluid. "Luna," she said. "My name is Luna." Keanu nodded slowly. "That's a beautiful name, Luna. How did you get here? Where are your parents?" The little girl looked toward the highway, then back to the desert. "My family is far away. Very far. I was waiting for someone to find me." A chill ran through Keanu, despite the warm sun on his back. Luna's words were too composed, too precise. He took another step, instinctively trying to shield her from the open road. His protective instincts were kicking in hard. "Do you remember what happened, Luna? Did someone leave you here?" he asked. She shook her head. "No, there was an accident. Our vehicle broke. I came out by myself." Keanu glanced across the desert, looking for any sign of a wreckage, but there was nothing. No smoke, no tire tracks, no broken glass or bent metal, just sand and dust and silence. "Where are your parents in the vehicle?" "They're not here," she replied simply. "I'm the only one who got out." The way she said it made Keanu's chest tighten. She didn't cry, she didn't shake. She simply stood there, tiny and resolute. He crouched again to meet her eye level. "Are you hurt? Do you feel sick or dizzy? Hungry?" Luna looked at him thoughtfully. "No, I feel fine, but I think you're supposed to help me now." He wasn't sure what to say to that. Everything about her, the way she talked, the way she moved, was wrong. Not wrong in a bad way, but wrong for a child. Like someone pretending to be one. Or something. Not quite from here. But right now, all he saw was a little girl completely alone on a desert highway. "I'm going to help you," he said, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. "I'm going to call some people who can find your family. That's the first step, okay?" He stood and reached into his pocket for his phone. Before he could unlock the screen, Luna stepped closer and touched his arm. Her fingers were ice cold. "Please don't leave me with strangers," she said. "I need to stay with you." Her tone wasn't pleading, it was a quiet certainty, as if she already knew how things would unfold. Keanu looked down at her, then out toward the horizon again. Something deep in his gut told him this was no ordinary rescue. He hadn't just found a lost child, he had found something that would change everything. Keanu's phone stayed in his hand, but he didn't dial. He just stood there, trying to process what he was seeing and hearing. Luna's presence felt too quiet for a child who'd been through something traumatic. Her hands hung at her sides, relaxed. Her breathing was steady. She didn't cling to him. She didn't ask where her parents were. It was as if she already knew they weren't coming. "Luna," Keanu said again, more gently this time. "You said there was an accident. Was it nearby?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she glanced toward the desert behind her. Her eyes narrowed, not in fear, but with something closer to memory, or maybe calculation. When she turned back to him, there was a faint sadness in her face. "It was far," she said quietly. "Too far to walk. I tried calling for help, but my signal didn't work right." Keanu blinked. "You have a phone?" She shook her head. "Not like yours. Something different." He looked her over again. No backpack, no water bottle, no shoes, just the soft fabric that made up the strange garment she wore, something between a tunic and a robe, with shifting colors that reminded him of northern lights. It wasn't dirty. In fact, it didn't even look dusty, despite sitting in the desert sand. Luna looked up at him with those pale eyes. They weren't white, not really, but the blue was so faint it was hard to see where her iris ended and the whites began. Her pupils were slightly elongated, almost feline, and yet there was no fear in them, no panic, no desperation, just calm. "I was waiting for you," she said. That sentence stopped Keanu cold. "You were waiting for me?" She nodded once. "I didn't know your name until you said it, but I knew someone would come, someone good." Keanu's grip tightened around his phone. He had stopped to help out of instinct, not because he was special. Anyone would have stopped. "Wouldn't they?" "Luna," he said carefully, "are you sure you're not hurt? You look okay, but sometimes people don't feel pain right away after an accident." "I told you, I'm fine." She tilted her head. "But you're not. You're confused. You're wondering if I'm really a child." His breath caught. That wasn't just a strange thing for a kid to say. It was something no child her age should have been able to articulate. "I've just never met anyone like you before," he admitted. She looked satisfied with that answer. "That's okay. I've never met anyone like you either." Keanu crouched again, trying to keep his voice steady. "Can you tell me what happened to the others? The people who were with you?" She hesitated. "They're gone, but not forever." "Gone?" Keanu asked. "What do you mean?" Luna didn't answer immediately. She looked up at the sky, watching the last stars fade into the pale morning. The light reflected off her skin in an odd way, as if she were slightly luminous herself. When she spoke, her voice was soft. "Abel couldn't stay with me. They had to go somewhere else." Keanu glanced over his shoulder, scanning the highway. Still no traffic. Still nothing but open desert and silence. Were they in a car? A van? Did it flip? Did someone take them? "No one took them," Luna said. "But we're not from around here. Our way of travel is not what you'd expect." He stared at her. "Luna, I need to understand. I really want to help you, but you're talking like I'm not normal," she offered. Keanu didn't answer. He didn't want to hurt her feelings, if this was somehow a traumatized child imagining things. But nothing about her was adding up. She reached out and touched his hand. Her fingers were cold again, noticeably colder than the morning air. "I'm not going to hurt you," she said softly. "You don't need to be afraid." "I'm not afraid," Keanu replied, even though his instincts were telling him this was something beyond his understanding. "I just want to know how to help you." "You already are. You stopped, you stayed, most people wouldn't have." "I think more people would have stopped than you realize," he said gently. "There are a lot of good people in this world." Luna looked skeptical. "Some are good, some are not ready." "Not ready for what?" "To believe the truth." That quiet answer left a ringing silence between them. Keanu stood, his phone still in hand. "I need to call someone. Emergency services. They'll come take care of you. Maybe they can help find your parents." He began dialing 911, but before he could press the call button, Luna gently touched his arm again. "I don't want to go with strangers, please." Her voice didn't plead, but it struck something in him. A deeper note. She wasn't asking from fear, she was asking from knowing, like she already understood what would happen if she were taken away. "I won't leave you," Keanu said. "Good, because I'm not supposed to leave you either." He looked down at her, stunned. "What do you mean?" "I think I was sent to you." Keanu lowered the phone. "Sent? By who?" Before he could say anything more, Luna turned away from the road and walked a few steps toward the desert. She pointed. "The accident happened that way. Very far, you can't see it, but I know where it is." Keanu stared at the horizon. This wasn't just a lost child anymore. It was something else. He followed her gaze into the vast desert. There was nothing. Just a haze of heat slowly building above the distant ground and low brush that swayed with the light morning wind. But Luna's posture didn't waver. She wasn't guessing. She was remembering. "You said there was a signal device?" Keanu asked, trying to bring the conversation back to something tangible. "Something you used to call for help?" Luna nodded and lifted her hand to the collar of her strange tunic. She slipped her fingers beneath the fabric and pulled out a small, oval-shaped object. It looked like a smooth stone at first, dark gray and featureless, but when she held it in the light, it shimmered, like her clothes. As she turned it slowly in her palm, it briefly emitted a soft blue pulse, like a heartbeat. "It doesn't work very well here," she said. "Too much interference, not enough power." Keanu stared at the object. "That's not a toy." "No, it's not." He didn't ask what it was. He had too many questions already. She closed her hand around it and tucked it back into her tunic. For a long moment, they stood there in silence, the desert breeze brushing past them. Then Luna looked up again, more seriously this time. "Keanu, there are things I need to tell you, but not yet, not here." Her voice had shifted again, still soft, but now layered with a kind of urgency that made the hairs on the back of his neck rise. "Tell me what you can," he said. "I will, I promise. Just not while the sun is still rising." He didn't understand what that meant, but he didn't press her. Not yet. "I'm going to call for help," he said again, more gently this time. "But if you don't want to leave with anyone else, I'll explain that. I'll go with you. I'll stay as long as you need." Luna smiled, just slightly. "That's why they chose you." Keanu blinked. She looked up at him, her strange eyes shimmering. "You'll understand soon." Keanu nodded slowly, but he couldn't shake the feeling growing in his chest. Something enormous was moving beneath the surface of this moment, something that had been waiting for a long time. And it had just begun. Keanu turned back toward his motorcycle. The air felt warmer now, but not in a comforting way. It pressed down on him, thick and heavy. As he approached the bike, he noticed it had gone completely silent. Not just the engine, everything. No gentle ticking sounds from the cooling metal, no flickering dash lights. Nothing. He paused, frowning. That wasn't normal. Even after shutting off the engine, the cooling system usually made quiet mechanical noises for a while. But now, the bike sat there, like a sculpture. Lifeless. He glanced over his shoulder. Luna was standing exactly where he left her, watching him. Her pale eyes reflected the morning light in a way that didn't feel natural. They didn't glow exactly, but they held the light too long, like mirrors that absorbed more than they reflected. Keanu unlocked his phone again. His thumb hovered over the call button for 911. He had to do it. No matter how strange Luna's behavior was, she was still a child. Still alone. Still vulnerable. As he lifted the phone to his ear, Luna crossed the distance between them with startling quietness. She placed her small hand on his arm. "Please," she said, her voice low. "Don't leave me with strangers." Keanu looked down at her. The weight of her touch went deeper than the skin. Her hand was freezing, far colder than it should have been, even in the early desert morning. The hairs on his forearm rose instantly beneath her fingers. "I'm not leaving you," he said. "I just need to get someone to help. You said there was an accident. If your family's out there, hurt, we need to find them." Luna's face remained still. "They're not out there. Not in a way you can reach. I'm the only one who made it out. They can't come for me now." Keanu crouched beside her again. "Luna, if they're gone, if something happened to them, we still need to make sure you're okay. Safe. Warm. You need food, water, a bed." I don't need those things right now, she said simply. I just need to stay with you. Keanu lowered the phone. He didn't understand why, but he believed her. Maybe it was the way she said it. Maybe it was the certainty in her voice, but mostly it was the feeling inside his chest. A low pull, like something in the world had quietly shifted the moment he found her. He put the phone back in his pocket. Okay, he said softly. You stay with me. Luna nodded. Thank you. Keanu walked back to the motorcycle and reached for his jacket, which he'd laid across the seat earlier. The desert was starting to warm up, but Luna's skin was so cold, it felt wrong. He held the oversized jacket out to her, and without hesitation, she slipped her arms into it. The sleeves swallowed her hands, and the hem nearly touched her ankles. But she didn't complain. She just pulled it tighter around herself and looked up at him. You don't have to be afraid, she said again. Nothing will hurt you while I'm here. The statement was odd, but it didn't sound arrogant. It sounded like a promise. Keanu tried to shake off the unease curling in his gut. He was used to strange situations. He'd met people in crisis, in trauma, in pain. But nothing in his life had ever prepared him for a child like Luna. He sat on the ground next to her, cross-legged, letting his hands rest on his knees. Tell me more about the accident. You said it happened far from here? She nodded. Very far. You can't see it from here. It's not like a regular crash. It happened in the air, high above. In the air? Keanu echoed. You were in a plane? Luna didn't answer immediately. She reached into the oversized sleeve and pulled out the same small oval object he'd seen earlier. She cradled it between her palms, and as he watched, it pulsed faintly with blue light again. Our transport broke apart, she said. It wasn't a plane, not the way you think of them. It's different, but it broke while we were moving across the sky. Keanu frowned. He wanted to ask more questions, but something about the way she said our transport made his skin prickle. You said you came out alone, he said slowly. You were the only one who got out. That means the others didn't survive? They're not here, she said again. But I don't think they're gone forever. I think they're just elsewhere. Keanu looked around once more. Still no sign of any crash. No smoke, no flashing lights, no broken glass or debris. The desert was completely undisturbed. Luna, do you know how far away it happened? Miles? Hours? I don't measure distance the way you do, she said. He sighed. Okay, let's try something simpler. How long have you been waiting here? She looked up. Since night ended. So, just this morning? Or had she been there longer? He didn't know how to interpret her answers. Every word she said seemed to have layers he couldn't quite see through. Luna, he said gently, can I ask you something? She nodded. What do you really? Luna looked at him for a long moment. Her eyes didn't blink. The wind picked up a little, sending a soft breath of sand across the road behind them. I'm someone who's trying to help, she said finally. That's all I can say right now. Keanu nodded, not pressing her. You're not afraid. Oh, you're a little kid, alone in the desert. I'm not afraid, she repeated, because I knew someone would find me, and they would be kind. You said you were waiting for me. She nodded again. That's what I was told, that someone with a good heart would come, that I'd know him when I saw him. Keanu didn't know what to say to that. He'd heard strange things in his life, especially from people under stress, but this felt different. Not like a fantasy, not like delusion. It felt deliberate, measured. Like Luna was holding back something enormous, but giving him what he could handle. He looked back at his motorcycle again. It was still silent. He stood and walked over to it, trying the ignition. Nothing happened. No lights. No response. The entire system was dead. Then Luna stepped closer, lifting one hand. She placed her palm on the seat. Keanu's breath caught. A second later, the engine made a soft clicking sound. the kind it usually made when cooling. Then, one by one, the dashboard lights blinked back to life. The digital screen glowed, the fuel meter reset, the engine let out a quiet mechanical hum. It was working again. Keanu turned back to her. "What just happened?" "I didn't do anything," she said. "I just touched it." "Luna." She looked up at him, calm as ever. "Sometimes things respond to me. That's all. Maybe your machine just needed a rest." Keanu didn't laugh. He didn't feel like this was a moment for jokes. Instead, he looked at her, really looked, and realized something that chilled him even more than the desert silence. This little girl didn't belong here. Not in the way a lost child does. Not in the way a runaway does. She didn't belong on this road, in this place, or even on this planet. And somewhere deep down, he knew it. She was something else entirely. And his life, maybe the whole world, was about to change because of her. Keanu crouched next to Luna again, his eyes scanning her face. She didn't seem cold anymore with his leather jacket wrapped around her, but he couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't quite need it in the first place. Still, she accepted it like it mattered. Maybe it did. Not for warmth, but as a symbol. Something grounding. Something human. "I'm going to make the call now," he said. Luna nodded without a word. Keanu stood and dialed 911. The line clicked once, then a woman's calm voice came through. 911, what's your emergency?" "This is Keanu Reeves," he began. "I'm on Boulder Highway about 15 minutes south of Las Vegas near mile marker 26. I found a child, maybe 3 years old, sitting alone off the side of the road." There was a pause on the line. "Sir, did you say Keanu Reeves?" "Yes. I know it sounds strange, but this isn't a prank. The child's alone, no visible injuries, but I think she was in some kind of accident. She said she's the only one who made it out." "Understood. We're dispatching an ambulance and patrol unit to your location now. Stay with the child. Help will arrive in approximately 20 minutes. "I'll wait," he said. "Please, hurry." As he ended the call and slipped the phone back into his pocket, he turned toward Luna, who was sitting cross-legged in the dirt again, watching the sky. "They're on their way," he said. "An ambulance and some officers. They'll help you figure out where your family is." Luna didn't look at him. "They won't find them." Keanu sat down beside her. "Why do you say that?" "Because they're not here anymore," she said simply. His brow furrowed. "You mean they didn't survive?" She turned to him, her expression unreadable. "I mean, they're not here. Not like you are. Not in this time. Not in this place." The words settled between them like dust. Keanu didn't ask what she meant. He didn't know how. He just sat quietly beside her, listening to the wind and the hum of desert silence. "You're not like other kids," he said eventually. Luna smiled slightly. "Neither are you." He gave a quiet laugh. "I think you've got that backwards." She tilted her head. "Humans like you were always supposed to help. That's what they told me." "Who's they?" She didn't answer. Instead, she reached down and picked up a small rock, turning it over in her hands like it held the answers to a bigger question. Keanu leaned back on his palms and looked out over the desert. The early morning sunlight was growing stronger, casting long shadows across the highway. He could hear the faint buzz of power lines in the distance and, farther off, the low hum of a distant vehicle. Maybe someone driving to work. Maybe someone just passing through. Life out here always seemed to move at its own quiet pace. "I've met a lot of people," Keanu said after a long pause. "Actors, directors, fans, strangers. But I've never met anyone who made me question reality." Luna looked at him again. "You don't have to understand everything today." "Weigh me?" he asked, more softly. "Why was I the one who found you?" "I told you," she replied. "You were chosen, not by accident. I don't know everything, but I was told to wait until someone like you came." He glanced at her, frowning slightly. "What does like me mean?" "You have compassion," she said. "Real compassion. The kind that isn't for show. You care when no one's watching." Keanu didn't respond to that. He wasn't sure how. There were compliments, and then there were truths that landed deeper than he was ready for. A silence fell between them again, broken only by the soft shifting of the wind and the occasional rustle of dry brush. Luna seemed content in it. She never fidgeted or asked questions. She just sat there, still and observant, as if she were listening to something in the air that Keanu couldn't hear. A few minutes later, the sound of a vehicle broke the quiet. Keanu stood and turned toward the road. In the distance, flashing lights became visible, red and white. An ambulance. Behind it, a black and white patrol car followed. "They're here," he said. Luna didn't move. "Will you stay?" "Of course." As the ambulance slowed to a stop, 2 EMTs climbed out. One was a woman with kind eyes and a blonde ponytail. The other, a middle-aged man with a clipboard in hand. The woman approached first, her tone gentle. "Hi there," she said, crouching down in front of Luna. "My name's Lisa. What's yours?" "Luna," the girl replied. Lisa smiled. "That's a beautiful name, Luna. We're just here to help. We're going to take you to the hospital to make sure everything's okay." Luna turned to Keanu. "Will he come with me?" Lisa looked up at him. "Are you family?" "No," Keanu said. "I just found her here this morning." "Well," Lisa said, "you can ride along if she's comfortable with that. Sometimes having a familiar face makes all the difference." Keanu nodded. "I'll go." The EMTs opened the back doors of the ambulance. Lisa climbed in first, reaching out a hand to help Luna. The girl took it without hesitation, stepping gracefully inside, still wrapped in Keanu's oversized jacket. Keanu followed, settling into one of the jump seats beside the stretcher. Luna sat calmly between him and Lisa. The moment the doors shut, the outside world seemed to fade away. The engine started, the ambulance pulled onto the road, and the soft hum of the tires filled the space. Lisa began taking Luna's vitals. "We'll check your temperature, your heart rate, just to be safe, okay?" Luna nodded once. Pete, the male EMT, called back from the driver's seat. "Just a heads up, we're getting some static on the radio. Might be the area. It was working fine earlier." Lisa frowned. "It's been acting weird all morning." Keanu looked toward Luna. Her eyes were fixed on the radio panel, her head tilted slightly. "Sometimes machines don't work well around me," she said. Lisa glanced at her. "Oh? Why's that?" Luna shrugged. "They just get confused." Keanu didn't say anything. He was beginning to believe her. Lisa continued with her checks. "Let's take your temperature, sweetheart." She placed a digital thermometer in Luna's ear and waited. It beeped. She murmured. "That's odd." "What is it?" Keanu asked. "It says 91.3. That can't be right." She reset the device and tried again. This time, the reading was 89. Lisa raised her eyebrows, then tried a third time. The display flashed 103, then reset again. "This thermometer's acting up," she muttered, reaching for another one in her kit. Before she could use it, Luna placed her hand gently on Lisa's wrist. "It's okay," she said. "You won't get a normal reading." Lisa looked confused but smiled anyway. "You're full of surprises, Luna." The little girl didn't respond. She simply looked out the window as the ambulance passed through the outskirts of the city. Keanu leaned in closer and whispered, "Are you feeling okay?" Luna nodded. "I feel perfect, better than most humans." Keanu smiled faintly. "You keep saying humans like you're not one of us." Luna looked at him, her expression gentle. "Maybe." Keanu didn't push her. The strangeness was becoming familiar now. He wasn't sure what she was or where she was from, but something deep inside him had shifted. This wasn't just about helping a child anymore. This was something else entirely, and it was only the beginning. The ambulance rolled forward smoothly, its tires humming against the asphalt as they left Boulder Highway behind. Inside the cabin, The overhead lights cast a soft glow on the white interior. Luna sat between Keanu and Lisa, still wrapped in the oversized jacket. Her hands rested in her lap, small and still. She didn't squirm, didn't speak unnecessarily, and didn't show any signs of distress. Instead, her eyes moved slowly over every piece of equipment around her: the oxygen tank, the heart monitor, the cabinets of supplies. She seemed to study each device, not like a child exploring a new place, but like someone checking the condition of tools she already knew how to use. "The machine checks how fast the heart moves, right?" Luna asked, pointing at the monitor just above Keanu's shoulder. Lisa turned toward her, surprised. "Yes, that's right. It tracks the heart's rhythm." "And that one," Luna said, tilting her chin toward the nearby defibrillator, "uses controlled electricity to restart a heart if it stops." Keanu looked at her. "Where did you learn that?" Luna blinked slowly. "I just know." Lisa raised an eyebrow but didn't push it. "You're very observant," she said with a small smile. Then a burst of static crackled from the front of the cabin. Pete's voice came through, muffled. "Radio's acting up again, picking up weird frequencies." Lisa stood slightly and leaned through the window to speak with him. "What kind of frequencies?" "Sounds like interference," Pete replied. "Not like police chatter, almost like music mixed with noise. Never heard anything like it." Keanu glanced at Luna. She was staring at the ceiling, her face completely still. He turned back to Lisa. "Has this happened before, with your equipment?" "No," Lisa said. "Not like this. We do get static sometimes when we're near the mountains, but this is different." As if on cue, the sound returned. A high-pitched tone, layered with faint melodic pulses, filled the ambulance cabin for several seconds before cutting out again. Keanu's eyes moved back to Luna. She hadn't flinched, hadn't looked up. But there was a subtle shimmer in her gaze now. Her pale eyes seemed to glow faintly in the overhead light. Lisa sat back down beside her. "Luna, do you feel okay? Are you dizzy? Nauseous?" "No," Luna said quietly, "but the machines feel confused. They're trying to talk to something that isn't here." Lisa hesitated. "What do you mean?" "They're looking for signals they don't recognize," Luna said. "So they make noise." "It's not their fault." Keanu watched the exchange closely. Luna didn't sound like a child guessing or pretending. She spoke as if she truly understood what the machines were doing, as if she'd seen this behavior before and had already made sense of it. Lisa offered her a bottle of water, "just in case you're thirsty." Luna shook her head gently. "Thank you, but I don't need it." Lisa glanced at Keanu, her expression shifting subtly. She was trying to stay composed, but her eyes were beginning to show concern. Not fear, just confusion. The kind you feel when something doesn't fit into any category you've known. Luna leaned toward the heart monitor again. "The readings are slow. That's what happens when someone is very calm or very cold." Keanu nodded. "And your temperature was low too." Luna turned toward him. "It's always like that. I don't think it will change." Lisa flipped open her chart. "Just for protocol, I need to ask a few questions," she said. "Luna, do you know your last name? Do you remember where you live? No. Do you know what city you were in before this?" Luna shook her head again. "I wasn't in a city." Lisa lowered the chart slowly. Keanu could feel the tension growing, though no one raised their voice. The air just felt heavier, thicker. "Luna," Lisa said gently, "do you remember the accident?" "Yes," she replied. "Can you tell me what happened?" "There was light, too much of it, and then I was alone." Lisa nodded slowly, jotting something in her notes. She didn't ask more questions, not yet. The radio crackled again. This time, it let out a brief tone, something that sounded like 3 soft chimes, followed by static. Keanu looked forward toward Pete. What was that? No idea, Pete called back. It's not a frequency I recognize. Luna turned to Keanu. It's not from this planet. His stomach dropped. Excuse me? Lisa asked. The signal, Luna said, her voice calm. It's not from here, but it's not bad. It's just distant, like an echo. Keanu stared at her, trying to find the right words. Lisa gently placed her hand on Luna's shoulder. You've been through a lot. It's okay to be confused. I'm not confused, Luna replied. I'm just not allowed to explain everything yet. Keanu leaned closer. Who told you that? My family, Luna said. Before they went away, Lisa exchanged another glance with Keanu. Her eyes were asking a silent question. Do you believe her? Keanu didn't answer, not with words, but his face said enough. He was starting to. The rest of the ride passed in silence, except for the occasional flicker of the ambulance lights and a faint buzzing in the radio. Luna didn't speak unless spoken to, and even then, she chose her words carefully. Every time Keanu looked at her, he felt more certain she wasn't making any of this up. There was a presence about her, something measured, intentional, and calm. Not like a child who was scared, not like a child at all. As they neared the city, the radio quieted. Buildings began appearing in the distance. The sun had risen fully now, casting a pale golden wash over the tops of trees and rooftops. Traffic thickened. The early morning quiet of the desert gave way to the pulse of city life. Lisa turned back to Keanu. We're about 10 minutes out. They've got a room ready for her in pediatric observation. Dr. Patricia Wells will be meeting us when we arrive. Good, Keanu said. She seems calm, but I still think someone should take a look. Lisa nodded. She's a strange one, but I've seen stranger cases. Sometimes kids who go through trauma hold it in until they're somewhere safe. Keanu looked at Luna again. You don't seem scared. Luna glanced at him. Because I'm not. Not even a little. She smiled softly. I've already seen the worst part. Everything after that is easier. The ambulance slowed as it pulled into the hospital drive. The tires bumped gently over the curb ramp, and the vehicle rolled to a stop. Pete came around and opened the rear doors. Bright sunlight poured into the cabin. Lisa stood and helped Luna to her feet. We'll get you checked in, sweetheart. Won't take long. Luna looked up at Keanu. You'll stay with me? He nodded. As long as they'll let me. She didn't say thank you, but her expression changed. Something about it settled deeper than words, like she was waiting for confirmation of something she already believed. Keanu helped her out of the ambulance. Lisa walked beside them, clipboard in hand, as they stepped into the emergency bay. Inside, the halls bustled with staff moving quickly through morning rounds. Nurses wheeled IV poles. Doctors moved between rooms. But as Luna walked through the entrance, people seemed to slow down. Heads turned. Conversations paused. No one spoke to her, but many stared. She didn't notice. Or maybe she did, and didn't care. Keanu followed her, feeling the same odd pull he'd felt since the moment he saw her by the road. Something about this girl was different. And now, as the automatic doors closed behind them, he knew he was walking into something far bigger than he could imagine. The examination room was small, clean, and brightly lit. A soft chime sounded as the door closed behind Keanu and Luna. Lisa had guided them through triage quickly, thanks in part to Keanu's name, and now they were in a quiet section of the pediatric emergency wing. Luna sat calmly on the padded table, her legs swinging slightly above the floor. She still wore Keanu's jacket, which now looked even larger under the white fluorescent lights. A knock came at the door, and a moment later it opened to reveal a woman in her mid-40s wearing blue scrubs and a calm expression. Her badge read Dr. Patricia Wells. She had curly dark hair tied back loosely and a clipboard in hand. "Good morning," she said, her tone warm but professional. "I'm Dr. Wells. You must be Luna." Luna nodded without hesitation. Dr. Wells smiled and stepped closer. "And you," she added, glancing at Keanu with a raised eyebrow, "are Keanu Reeves." He gave a small nod. "I found her, out on Boulder Highway." Dr. Wells looked surprised, but didn't press. Instead, she turned back to Luna. "Well, let's take a look and see how you're doing. Can I check your eyes and ears, sweetheart?" Luna nodded again, and Dr. Wells began her exam. She used a small light to peer into Luna's pupils, then gently examined her throat and ears. Everything seemed normal, at least on the surface. "You're being very brave," Dr. Wells said. "Most kids squirm a little." "I've had checkups before," Luna replied. "Of course. Where was your last one?" Luna tilted her head. "Far away." Dr. Wells smiled politely, jotting something on her clipboard. Keanu watched closely from the corner. Luna looked completely relaxed, but he could sense something shifting. Something small, invisible, but present in the air. Dr. Wells reached for a digital thermometer. "Let's get your temperature." She placed it gently in Luna's ear. A soft beep followed. Dr. Wells looked at the screen. 91.1? That can't be right. She tried again. This time the reading was 88. Her brow furrowed. "That's impossible," she muttered. "Let me get another one." She switched thermometers and tried again. 95, then 92, then 99, and back down to 86. "These devices were just calibrated yesterday," she said aloud, mostly to herself. Keanu stood. Her temperature was low in the ambulance, too, and the readings were all over the place. Dr. Wells turned to him. "She say anything unusual?" Keanu hesitated. She said, "Machines don't work right around her." Dr. Wells stopped and looked at Luna, who was still perfectly calm. "That's an odd thing to say," she said gently. Luna responded softly. "It's true." Dr. Wells studied her for a moment longer, then stood and walked over to the counter. She pulled on gloves and began preparing a syringe and small vial. "Luna, I'd like to take a little blood, just to make sure everything inside you is working the way it should. It'll be just a small pinch." Luna didn't flinch. Keanu watched as the doctor gently tied a rubber tourniquet around Luna's arm and tapped her inner elbow for a vein. Luna watched as well, but didn't seem concerned. The moment the needle pierced her skin, something strange happened. The blood flowed, but it wasn't like any blood Keanu had seen before. It was red, yes, but within it were tiny flecks that shimmered faintly under the light, like microscopic sparks, barely noticeable unless you were watching closely. Dr. Wells stared. She filled the vial and set it down slowly, eyes wide. "Are those sparkles?" she asked quietly. Keanu stepped forward, staring into the tube. The flecks moved as the liquid shifted, glinting like fine glitter suspended in syrup. Dr. Wells leaned toward the vial. "I've never seen blood like this." She turned to Luna. "Are you feeling any pain right now? Any discomfort?" Luna shook her head. "No. I feel normal." Dr. Wells picked up the vial, holding it toward the overhead light. "I'm going to run this to the lab for a fast analysis. We have a pediatric specialist who's seen some rare cases. She might know what we're looking at here." She looked at Keanu again, her tone quieter now. "You said you found her alone." "Yes," he replied, sitting on the ground off the side of the road. She wasn't crying. She wasn't scared. It was like she'd been waiting. Dr. Wells nodded slowly. "And she told you her name was Luna? That's all she would give? No last name, no address?" Dr. Wells turned back to Luna. "Do you have any allergies, Luna? Any medicines you take regularly?" "I don't take human medicine," Luna said. There it was again. That sentence. Not. "I don't take medicine. I'm not sick, but I don't take human medicine." Dr. Wells didn't correct her. She just wrote something down and moved to the computer, pulling up Luna's file in the hospital system. Keanu stepped closer to the exam table. You okay? He asked her quietly. Luna nodded. I told you I'm fine. But the blood will confuse them. Keanu leaned in slightly. What's in it? Luna's eyes met his, glowing faintly again in the shadow of the overhead light. Information, she said. Pieces of where I'm from. Dr. Wells looked over her shoulder at them. We should have preliminary results in 15 minutes. There's a waiting room next door if you'd like to sit down for a bit. We'll come get you. Keanu nodded. We'll wait. Luna hopped off the table, still holding on to the sleeves of his jacket. The waiting room was empty. Just a few soft chairs, a muted television in the corner playing morning news, and a coffee machine humming softly against the far wall. Keanu and Luna took seats near the window. Outside, sunlight poured over the hospital parking lot. People walked in and out with purpose, unaware of what had just entered their building. Luna sat silently, her legs tucked beneath her in the oversized chair. She didn't ask for water. She didn't seem restless or tired. She simply stared out the window like she was watching something much farther away than the city skyline. Keanu looked at her. Do you remember what happened when your transport broke? You said there was too much light. Luna nodded slowly. It was fast. We were in orbit. I don't know what hit us. There was a sound, like a ripple. Then my pod ejected. Your pod? It's like a life raft, she said. Meant for one. It landed far from the others. Keanu frowned. So you don't know where the rest of your crew is? She shook her head. I've been trying to find them, but the signal's broken. Keanu looked toward the hallway. He thought about Dr. Wells, about the blood sample being examined right now. They're going to want answers. I know, Luna said. That's why I didn't want to go with strangers. He nodded slowly. You don't trust them. I don't trust systems, she replied. Humans follow rules that don't leave room for understanding. They'll think I'm sick or dangerous. Keanu sighed, leaning back. They just want to help. I know, but they won't know how. He turned his head toward her. And I will? Luna met his gaze. You already are. There was no arrogance in her words, just a quiet certainty that cut straight through the air. Keanu didn't reply. He wasn't sure he needed to. Moments later, Dr. Wells stepped into the room. Her expression had changed. We got the blood results back. Keanu stood. Dr. Wells hesitated. Her blood has cell structures I've never seen. There are trace minerals that don't match anything in our system. And there's a protein sequence that, well, I can't explain it. It's like a language. Luna stood beside Keanu, her expression calm. Dr. Wells looked at her. Do you have any idea what this means? Luna gave a small smile. It means I'm not like the others. The room was silent. Then Dr. Wells took a slow breath and said, We need to run more tests, but I think it's time we contact child services. Luna's smile faded. The employee and Keanu stepped between them. Not yet, he said, because in his gut, he already knew. This wasn't just a medical mystery. This was a message. About 40 minutes after the lab results came back, a knock echoed at the waiting room door. Dr. Wells stepped in again, this time accompanied by a tall man in a dark blazer with a hospital visitor badge clipped to his pocket. He looked to be in his early 40s with short black hair and kind eyes that didn't match the tension in his shoulders. Keanu, Luna, this is Kevin Martinez, Dr. Wells said. He's from Nevada Child and Family Services. Kevin nodded, stepping forward and extending a hand to Keanu first. Mr. Reeves, thank you for staying. I heard you were the one who found her. Keanu shook his hand. That's right. She was sitting alone on the side of Boulder Highway. No signs of injury, but something wasn't right. She didn't want to go with anyone else. Kevin nodded, his tone gentle. Well, I'm here to make sure she's safe and placed in appropriate care while we look for her family. That's our top priority. He turned toward Luna and crouched down, placing his briefcase beside him. Hi there, he said softly. My name's Kevin. I'm here to help you, okay? Luna didn't respond. he continued with a practiced warmth. "We want to make sure you're taken care of, and that you're with people who can help you feel safe. Can you tell me your last name?" Luna turned her head slowly, her pale blue eyes locking on his. "I don't think you can say it," she replied. Kevin smiled patiently. "I can try, even if it's hard." Luna paused, then opened her mouth. What came out wasn't English. It wasn't any human language. The sound was soft, musical, like wind through chimes, layered with harmonic tones that rose and fell in impossible patterns. It was beautiful, but completely alien. Kevin blinked. "Okay, can you repeat that?" Luna did, this time even slower, the tones cascading in a way that seemed to echo off the very walls. Kevin sat back slightly, glancing up at Dr. Wells. She looked just as stunned. Keanu, seated beside Luna, leaned forward. "She says that's her family name." Kevin pulled out a small notepad and hesitated. "I don't even know how to write that down." "It's not meant to be written," Luna said. The lights above them flickered once, then again. Kevin looked up. "That's odd." Dr. Wells frowned and turned toward the hallway. "I'll check with the nurses' station." Luna whispered, "They're reacting again." Kevin's phone vibrated. He pulled it out, only to find the screen frozen, half black, half white. He tapped it a few times. "Nothing. I just charged this," he muttered. Dr. Wells returned with a furrowed brow. "The monitors in the adjacent rooms just reset. Security cameras went offline for about 3 minutes. We don't know why yet." There was no readout. Kevin tried restarting his phone, but the screen remained frozen. The overhead lights dimmed briefly, then flared back to full brightness. "Power fluctuation?" he asked. "No," Dr. Wells said. "The backup systems didn't switch on. That wasn't a failure. It was something else." She turned toward Luna, who was now gripping the sides of Keanu's jacket tightly. "I don't want to leave him," Luna said. "Please." Kevin softened his voice. "Luna, I understand you're scared, but Mr. Reeves isn't your legal guardian. Until we can find your family, we have to place you with someone who's licensed to care for children." Luna shook her head. "You don't understand. He was chosen." Dr. Wells took a slow breath. "Kevin, I've worked in pediatric medicine for over a decade. I've seen trauma, psychosis, shock, even rare neurological events. But this isn't like anything I've encountered. I ran Luna's labs myself. Her blood structure doesn't match any known database. She has no medical records, no history, and her temperature remains consistently below human norms." Kevin looked at her. "Are you saying she's not human?" Dr. Wells didn't answer right away. "I'm saying she doesn't fit into any known category I've studied. And if we separate her from the only person she trusts, we could cause real harm." Keanu looked at Kevin. "She hasn't asked for anything. She hasn't even cried. But she's made it clear she feels safest with me." "I can't just assign custody to a stranger," Kevin said, "even if that stranger is famous." "I'm not asking for custody," Keanu replied. "I'm asking for compassion." The lights flickered again. Then the heart monitor in the adjacent room beeped erratically before resetting itself. A nurse peeked in. "Dr. Wells, all the vitals on room 12 just went haywire. Oxygen monitor showing negative numbers. Then it stopped. We reset it and now it's fine." Dr. Wells turned to Kevin. "We're not dealing with something normal. I don't think you should remove her from this environment until we understand more." Kevin's phone lit up again. The screen now showed a split image, half his home screen, half static. He turned it over, frustrated. "She's right here," Keanu said. "You can observe her, interview her. Just let her stay close." Kevin looked back at Luna. She wasn't pleading. She wasn't bargaining. She was simply staring at him, like she knew he was reaching a decision. The lights dimmed once more, then returned. Luna said softly, "I was told to trust you if you listened." Kevin sat in silence for several moments. His fingers tightened around the edge of his notepad, then slowly relaxed. He looked up at Keanu, then at Dr. Wells. I need to follow procedure, he said. But I also need to make judgment calls in the best interests of the child. And right now, I'm not sure what we're dealing with. Luna didn't speak, she just waited. Kevin looked at Dr. Wells. Would you be willing to document your observations? What you've already seen? I'll need a signed note explaining the anomalies and her emotional dependence on Mr. Reeves. Dr. Wells nodded, gladly. And Keanu, Kevin added, turning to him, are you willing to stay here with her until we can arrange temporary approval for continued supervision? Yes, Keanu said without hesitation. Kevin took a deep breath. Okay, for now, Luna can stay with you, inside this facility. But you'll need to check in with the pediatric team every 4 hours. No leaving the hospital without clearance. Understood, Keanu said. Luna's body relaxed for the first time since Kevin had arrived. She exhaled slowly and leaned slightly against Keanu's arm, her head brushing his shoulder. Kevin stood. I'm going to file an emergency report, but I won't make any moves to separate her without medical support. I'm not sure I'd get her out of here if I tried. Dr. Wells gave him a quiet nod. That's the right call. Kevin turned toward Luna one last time. I don't know who you are, or what's really going on, but I'll treat you with the same care I'd give any child. Luna looked at him. Thank you, that's all I wanted. Kevin left the room. The air felt lighter somehow, as if something invisible had lifted. Dr. Wells stepped closer to Keanu and Luna. We'll set up a private observation room, one with fewer electronics. Something tells me they won't last long around her. Keanu gave a half smile. Yeah, that's probably wise. Luna looked up at Dr. Wells. You're kind, I can feel it. Dr. Wells smiled. You're not what I expected either. As she left the room to make arrangements, Keanu looked down at Luna. You okay now? She nodded. They're starting to believe. Believe what? To the employee. Then I'm not here by accident. Keanu stared at her for a moment. Then why are you here? Luna didn't answer right away. She looked out the window. I'll tell you soon, she said. But only you. Keanu sat back in the chair, his thoughts racing. Around them, the hospital hummed with quiet activity. Machines beeped, footsteps echoed in the hall, lives moved forward. But right here, something entirely different was unfolding. And he knew. This was just the beginning. The hospital had grown quiet. It was nearly midnight, and most of the pediatric wing had dimmed its lights. Nurses moved quietly between rooms. Machines beeped softly in the distance. The buzz of voices and activity had faded into soft murmurs and isolated footsteps. In a private observation room, tucked away from the rest of the ward, Keanu sat in a padded recliner next to Luna's bed. The staff had brought in a small cot for him, but he hadn't used it. He stayed by her side, not because she asked, but because he couldn't imagine walking away now. Too much had happened. Too many questions still circled in his mind like birds that refused to land. Luna lay curled under a hospital blanket. She hadn't slept, at least not in the way most children would. Her eyes had closed a few times, but her breathing never changed. Her muscles never fully relaxed. It was as if her body entered a resting state without actually letting go. Now she turned toward Keanu and sat up slowly. Her voice was soft but clear. I want to tell you something. He leaned in, adjusting his chair. Okay, you have to promise not to panic. I won't, he said. And you can't call anyone right away. Not the doctors, not the police, not even the people who think they're in charge. I promise. She looked him in the eyes. You've already seen too many things that don't make sense. You've been kind when you didn't have to be. That's why they chose you. But now I need you to hear the truth. Keanu nodded, heart pounding. I'm listening. Luna took a slow breath. Her small hands gripped the blanket for a moment, then released. I'm not a human child, she said. I just look like one. Keanu didn't move. He didn't speak. He kept his gaze steady. My name is Luna, but that's not the name I was born with. It's a translation, something easier for your ears to understand. My real name, you heard it earlier when I told the social worker. It's not meant to be spoken with human vocal cords. Keanu felt a chill creep up the back of his neck, but he remained still. My people are called Zephyrians. We come from a world far beyond your solar system, a planet colder than this one. It's covered in crystalline fields, and the sky glows purple at night. We don't live in cities, we live in harmonies, structures that are shaped by thought and resonance. Keanu finally spoke. And you came here? Luna met his eyes. To watch, to learn, to decide. We've been observing Earth for many years, Luna continued. Quietly, without interference. My species is part of a greater council, a network of civilizations across many systems. We call it the Cosmic Assembly. Each member has a role, a responsibility. Some are explorers, some are protectors. My team, we were watchers. Keanu's mind raced, but he kept his voice even. How did you get here? We traveled by starship, she said. Our vessel entered your system 3 weeks ago. It's not the first time we visited, but this was different. Our mission was formal, approved, authorized to make contact, if and only if we found someone we could trust. Her voice lowered, but something went wrong. What happened? We were attacked, Luna said simply. We don't know by who. There are hostile factions in space, ones who don't want Earth to join the Council. Our ship was struck by a kind of energy pulse. It disabled our systems and shattered the main vessel. Keanu leaned forward. Were there others with you? Yes, she said. 5 others. We all had escape pods. Mine deployed and sent me toward Earth. The last thing I saw was the ship breaking apart. He felt a tightness in his chest. Do you think they survived? I don't know. I haven't been able to reach them. She pulled something from under the blanket. It was the same smooth, stone-shaped object he'd seen before. She held it in her palm, and it glowed faintly with that same shifting blue light. This is our communicator. It lets me send pulses through subspace. I've been trying to reconnect with the others, but the signal is weak on your planet. Keanu stared at the device. That thing, it's real. Everything you're saying, it's all real. Luna nodded. You already knew. You just didn't want to say it. Keanu looked away for a moment. He thought about the flickering lights, the scrambled monitors, the blood with shimmering flecks, the way Luna seemed to know things she shouldn't, how her presence changed the energy of every room. And then he looked back at her. You're not a child, are you? He asked quietly. No, Luna said. In your terms, I'd be closer to what you consider a young adult. But our bodies develop differently. We grow slower. Our minds awaken first. Keanu exhaled slowly. Why do you look like this? Because it's what your people are ready to see. My true form would be difficult for most humans to accept, Luna said. You're still learning how to understand your own world. To introduce something too foreign would cause fear, panic, distrust. So we use projections, biological camouflage in a way. Keanu's voice was low. So, everything since this morning, me finding you on the road, the strange readings, the machines going haywire, it was all part of this? She shook her head. That was not part of the plan. I wasn't supposed to be alone. Our team was meant to land together, observe from a distance, and determine if Earth was ready to be contacted. But the crash changed everything. He studied her. Why me? Luna hesitated. Then she said, because we've been watching certain individuals on Earth for years. People who act with integrity when no one is looking. People who help without reward. People who carry pain but still choose kindness. Keanu looked down. You're one of them, she said softly. You don't just talk about compassion, you live it. And when you saw me on that highway, You didn't hesitate. You didn't record me. You didn't run. You stopped. You stayed. You listened. Keanu tried to absorb everything, but it felt like trying to drink the ocean. "What happens now?" he asked. "I'm not sure," Luna said. "The council may think our mission failed. If I don't report soon, they'll assume Earth isn't ready. And if they think we're not ready, they'll delay contact, maybe for another generation, maybe longer." Keanu sat back. "But Earth is already being watched by others, isn't it?" She nodded. "Yes, and not all of them are peaceful. The ones who attacked our ship, they want your world to stay isolated, easy to manipulate, easy to take. So you're saying Earth is vulnerable?" "Yes, more than your people know." The silence that followed was heavy. Then Luna said, "But I haven't given up yet. There's still time. If I can show the council that trust is possible, if I can prove that humans can understand the truth, we might still have a chance." Keanu looked into her eyes. "What do you need from me?" "Just stay with me," Luna said. "There's more I have to show you, more you need to see before you decide what comes next." He nodded, and for the first time that day, Luna leaned gently against his arm, not because she was weak, but because she finally knew she wasn't alone. The lights in Luna's hospital room had been dimmed to a soft golden hue. Outside the window, the city lights shimmered across the desert landscape. It was well past midnight, but Keanu was still awake. He sat beside Luna, trying to understand the weight of everything she had just shared, and yet he sensed she wasn't finished. Luna turned her head slowly and looked up at him. "There's more," she said. "What I told you earlier, that was only the beginning." Keanu waited. "My people belong to something called the Council," she began. "It's a coalition of civilizations spread across hundreds of systems. We call it the Harmonious Assembly, though you might understand it better as a kind of cosmic alliance. We share knowledge, protect each other, and intervene when younger worlds are in danger." Keanu's brow furrowed. "You mean like a galactic federation?" Luna tilted her head. "That's one word for it. But it's not political. It's based on resonance. Shared understanding, empathy, a sense of responsibility for all life. Not every species qualifies. Many choose not to join. Others aren't invited." "Earth," Keanu said slowly. "Earth has been under observation for more than 70 years, Luna replied. "You've made progress, especially in the last few decades. You've developed technologies, explored your solar system, cured diseases, and shown moments of great compassion. But you've also destroyed ecosystems, created weapons powerful enough to erase yourselves, and ignored suffering on massive scales." She paused, then added, "You're on the edge, and that's why we came." Keanu leaned forward. "To decide?" Luna nodded. "To determine if your species is ready for contact, if you're prepared to understand what's really happening beyond your skies." Keanu's voice dropped. "What is happening?" Luna's eyes darkened. "There's a force moving across the stars," she said. "A conqueror. They call themselves the Dominion. They don't ask for alliances. They don't believe in harmony. They believe in control. Entire planets have fallen to them, some without a single shot. Others were turned to ash." Keanu went still. "And they're coming here?" "Yes," Luna said. "Not tomorrow, not next week, but soon. They've already charted your world, your electromagnetic signals, your satellites, your oceans. They know more about your species than most humans know about themselves." Keanu exhaled slowly. "And your mission? To see if Earth can stand." Keanu stood and paced slowly across the room, stopping near the window. The desert city was quiet. The hospital was quiet. But his mind was anything but. "And if you decided Earth wasn't ready?" he asked. Luna's voice was steady. "Then we would have left, silently, without warning. The Council would withdraw support. Earth would be left to face whatever came, on its own." "And now?" he asked. "I don't know." she said honestly. Our mission was to observe and remain hidden. But when the ship was destroyed, all protocols broke down. My pod landed without guidance. I had no backup. I wasn't supposed to speak to anyone, not even if I was injured. But you did, Keanu said. Because I was told to trust my instinct, she replied. And when I saw you, something told me you were the one. He turned to face her. The one what? The one who might help Earth take its first step toward understanding. The one who might carry the truth forward, not with fear, but with grace. Keanu sat back down, slowly. You're putting a lot of faith in me. I don't have much choice, Luna said. And neither do you. They sat in silence for a moment, the gravity of her words sinking in. You said the Dominion is expanding, Keanu said. Why hasn't the Council stopped them? Time. They've tried, Luna said. But the Dominion doesn't fight fair. They infiltrate, manipulate, turn allies against each other. Some planets never even knew they were being conquered until it was too late. Others fought and were crushed. Has Earth had contact with them before? Not officially, Luna answered, but they've tested your defenses. You call them anomalies, power outages, satellites falling. They call them trials. Keanu closed his eyes for a second. And you're sure Earth isn't ready for open conflict? No, she said, but you might be ready to prepare, to wake up, to change. He looked at her. And how would that even start? By knowing the truth, Luna said, by spreading it, quietly, wisely, and by choosing leaders who value peace over power, unity over control. Keanu ran a hand through his hair. That sounds impossible. Luna didn't blink. Most miracles do. He gave a faint smile. Are you always this intense? No, she replied. Only when I'm scared. The room went quiet again. A soft mechanical hum filled the air. Outside the window, the faint glow of headlights moved along the distant road. Do others in the Council know you survived? Keanu asked. I've tried to send out signals, Luna said, but I don't know if they've received them. The device I have, it's damaged, and your planet's atmosphere interferes with long-range pulses. If they think you're gone, they'll assume Earth failed the test, she said, and they'll move on. Keanu straightened. Then we have to prove them wrong. Luna nodded. That's why I told you, but you need to understand something else. If you reveal me to the wrong people, they won't protect me. They'll study me, lock me away, maybe worse. I'd never let that happen, Keanu said firmly. She reached out and placed her small, cold hand over his. Then you're already part of the mission. He looked down at their hands. So, what happens next? Luna glanced at the device beside her. It flickered with soft pulses of blue. If I can stabilize the signal, she said, I might be able to send a final message, a plea for time, a request for Earth to be given one more chance. Keanu narrowed his eyes. And what do I do? You stay close, she said. You learn, and when the time comes, you help me speak to the world. He felt the weight of those words settle onto his chest. Why me? He asked again. Because you already live like someone from the Council, she said. You care. You sacrifice. You don't seek power, but you use your voice when it matters. That's what Earth needs right now, not another hero. A bridge. He looked at her carefully. If I do this, it'll change everything. Yes, Luna said. But maybe that's exactly what your world needs. He nodded, slowly, deliberately. And for the first time since they met, Keanu realized something strange. He wasn't afraid. He was ready. Keanu sat with his elbows on his knees, hands clasped tightly together. The room was silent except for the hum of distant machinery and the rhythmic beep of a heart monitor somewhere down the hall. Luna had gone quiet, watching him carefully, as if waiting for something to land. The weight of what she'd just told him pressed down like a mountain. This wasn't about one lost child anymore. This was about the fate of an entire world. And for reasons he still didn't fully understand, Luna had placed that burden squarely on his shoulders. He exhaled slowly. "Why me?" he asked. "Out of 8 billion people, why me?" Luna's eyes didn't waver. "Because we've been watching you?" Keanu stared at her, uncertain if he should feel comforted or alarmed. "For years," she continued. "Not just me, others in the council. Observation is always the first phase. It's how we learn whether a species is self-aware, compassionate, resilient. We study public records, yes, but we also listen to silence. We watch private choices. We look for patterns not in words, but in how someone lives when no one is watching." She sat up straighter in her bed. "And you live differently." He frowned slightly. "I'm just an actor." "No," she said. "You're a man who walks into rooms and sees the people no one else notices. You speak kindly to waiters. You give without expecting praise. You hold doors. You listen more than you speak. You choose humility even when power is available." Keanu looked away, jaw tightening. "That doesn't mean I'm qualified to make a decision for the whole world." "Maybe not," Luna said, "but it means you're qualified to represent it." He turned back to her. "What does that even mean?" "It means the council was searching for a bridge," she said. "Someone who could carry our message, but who also understood humanity. Someone who could feel the tension between chaos and peace, and still choose peace." Keanu sat back, absorbing every word. Luna added, "Most leaders on your planet crave control. They speak of unity while dividing. They campaign on hope but govern with fear. You don't do that. You've been famous for decades, and you still move like a man who owes the world something, not like it owes you." He gave a quiet laugh, barely audible. "You make it sound like I'm some kind of prophet." "You're not," she replied. "You're a mirror, and the council believes Earth deserves at least one clear reflection before the storm arrives." Keanu leaned forward, elbows resting on his thighs again, trying to steady his thoughts. The fluorescent lights overhead cast long shadows on the floor. For a moment, it didn't feel like a hospital room. It felt like a stage with only 2 characters, and a script that had never been written. He searched her face. "And what happens if I say no?" Luna's expression didn't change. "Then I return to the council with silence. Earth will be listed as unready. Contact will be postponed indefinitely. The Dominion will come, eventually, and when they do, there will be no alliance. No protection. You'll face them alone." Keanu let that sink in. "And if I say yes," he asked. "You'll help me deliver a message," she said. "First to the council, and later, if we're given permission, to your people. A message of warning, but also of hope. An invitation to rise above division. To unite as something more." He shook his head slightly. "But I'm not a leader. I don't hold office. I don't control armies. I'm not even online half the time." "That's exactly why you were chosen," Luna said. "The council has studied political systems, military strategies, economic theories. They all have one thing in common. They reflect the hearts of the people who build them. And if the hearts are corrupted, everything else breaks down." Keanu's voice was soft. "So you're saying I'm, what, a moral barometer?" "No," she replied. "You're a seed." He raised an eyebrow. "A seed?" "The starting point," Luna said. "You don't have to move mountains, but your voice carries, your choices ripple outward. If you act with clarity, others will follow, not because they're told, but because they'll see themselves in you." Keanu let the silence stretch. Luna continued, "You've experienced pain, you've lost family, you've known loneliness, despair, and still, you chose love. You chose kindness. You chose to get back on your motorcycle this morning and drive towards something good, not knowing the universe was waiting for you." He closed his eyes. Her words were too specific, too exact. They weren't guesses. They were truths he rarely shared. When he opened them again, Luna said gently, "You don't have to save the world. You just have to help it remember who it is." Keanu took a deep breath. "And how do I do that?" Luna reached for his hand again. "By starting with one truth, and one person willing to carry it." Keanu stood up and began to pace, not in frustration, but in quiet contemplation. He had played so many roles in his life. Warriors, rebels, dreamers. But this wasn't a script. This was real. And it terrified him. He turned back to her. "You said you've seen people like me before. What happened to them?" "Some became catalysts," Luna answered. "They inspired revolutions of thought, peace movements, moments in history that bent toward justice. Others faded quietly, not because they failed, but because their worlds weren't ready." He nodded slowly. "So this isn't just about me being good. It's about the world being willing to hear it." "Yes," she said. "And that's the hardest part. Your world doesn't trust sincerity. It often mocks compassion. But that's exactly why your voice matters. You speak gently, and people listen." Keanu sat back down. "What if they don't believe me?" "Some won't," she said, "but others will, and those others are enough to start the change." His throat tightened. "I never asked for this." "I know," she said, "but neither did Earth." He leaned forward, hands clasped. "Tell me what to do." "Tonight, nothing," she said. "Rest. Let it settle. Tomorrow, I'll show you something only a council witness is allowed to see. And then you'll decide if you're ready." He nodded, though the weight in his chest hadn't lessened. Luna studied him one last time before closing her eyes. "You're not alone in this," she said. "You never were." Keanu remained silent for a while, watching her as her breath slowed. The small glow from her communicator pulsed faintly beside her. It reminded him of a heartbeat. Not hers, but Earth's. He looked out the window at the lights of the city. He thought about the people in their homes, sleeping, dreaming, unaware that their fate might already be shifting. He thought about the choice in front of him, and he wondered not whether he could carry it, but whether he could carry it quietly, without letting the world collapse under its own disbelief. He didn't have the answer. Not yet. But he knew one thing for sure. He wouldn't walk away. The next morning, the sun had barely begun to rise when Luna stirred. Keanu was sitting in the corner of her hospital room, sipping coffee from a paper cup. He hadn't slept much, but there was a strange stillness in him. Like something inside had already decided, even if his mind hadn't caught up yet. Luna sat up quietly and looked at him. "Are you ready to see?" she asked. Keanu set down the coffee and nodded. She reached beneath the hospital blanket and pulled out a small, flat disc about the size of a compact mirror. Its surface looked like brushed metal, but it shimmered faintly in the light. Luna placed it on the table between them. "This is a star map," she said softly. "It's not just visual, it's a living projection. It updates in real time based on signals from hundreds of systems." Keanu leaned forward as the disc began to glow. A soft hum filled the room. Then, without warning, a three-dimensional sphere of light appeared above it. It was stunning. A vast galaxy suspended mid-air, slowly rotating with thousands of tiny points of light. Some dots were blue, some were red, a few blinked in white. Luna pointed to a blue cluster near the center. "These are council worlds, peaceful, stable, and protected. Many of them have been part of the Alliance for centuries. They share knowledge, trade, and defense. Most are home to multiple species." Then she gestured toward a large section of red, encroaching like a spreading infection across the galactic arm. "These are Dominion-controlled systems. Every red point marks a world either conquered, enslaved, or consumed. They don't always destroy physically, but culturally, spiritually. They erase the soul of a place. Keanu's eyes scanned the map, absorbing the scale. It looks like the red is surrounding the blue. It is, Luna said. The Council has been holding the line, but they can't fight a war forever, especially not alone. Then she zoomed in slightly with a swipe of her hand across the disk's edge. The map shifted, revealing a small blinking white light surrounded by red on nearly all sides. That, she said, is Earth. Keanu stared at it. So small, so fragile-looking compared to the clusters around it. The red lights pulsing near its border made the threat feel immediate, even though it was millions of miles away. Why haven't they attacked yet? He asked. Because they're waiting, Luna said. The Dominion doesn't waste effort. If they can turn a world without violence, they will. And Earth has shown signs of instability, division, corruption, growing reliance on volatile tech. They believe your world is already primed for takeover. Luna's hand moved again, and the projection shifted. Images began to form in the air, moving, alive. The first showed a lush green world, once vibrant with oceans and towering forests. Then came the change. The skies darkened, factories rose, cities turned gray, people moved like shadows under surveillance towers. That world was called Overin, she said. They resisted at first, then their leaders accepted Dominion aid, better tech, stronger energy grids. Within a decade, their language was gone. Their young stopped asking questions. Now, they don't remember what it felt like to be free. Keanu's jaw tightened. Another image appeared, this time a peaceful city under a golden sky. Children played near glowing fountains. Music floated through the air. Clean energy pulsed through trees, laced with bioluminescence. This is Sirata, she said. A council world. No armies, no prisons. Problems still exist, but they're addressed with empathy, not force. The people vote by feeling, by resonance, not manipulation. He looked at her. That almost sounds like a fairy tale. It's real, she said. Not perfect, but peaceful and possible. The images faded back into stars. Luna sat back against her pillow, her face pale but calm. The Council doesn't want to conquer Earth, she said. They want to offer partnership, shared defenses, knowledge beyond your wildest dreams, clean technology, medical cures, a voice in something bigger than one planet. Keanu whispered. And the price? Truth. Luna replied. Transparency. Unity. A choice to evolve beyond fear. He turned to the star map again. The blinking white light of Earth flickered like a candle in wind. What if Earth chooses wrong? He asked. Then it becomes another Overin, she said gently. And the Dominion will use its own tools, division, propaganda, temptation. Earth won't even realize it's being overtaken until it forgets it ever had another path. He was quiet for a long time. Then he asked, And you think I can help change that path? I don't know, Luna said honestly, but I believe you're the only one who might try. And that's more than most. He nodded slowly, then reached forward and placed his hand over the small white light blinking on the map. We either wake up, he said softly, or we vanish. Luna met his eyes. That's the choice. The map dimmed. The stars faded. But the weight of that tiny white light remained heavy in Keanu's chest. The countdown had already begun. Keanu stood by the window again. The room was dim now. The hospital lights softened as the day gave way to dusk. He watched the sun dip below the edge of the city skyline, casting long shadows across the floor. Behind him, Luna sat quietly, still recovering her strength. But her eyes stayed sharp, watching him just as closely as he watched the horizon. I don't think we're ready, Keanu said finally. His voice was quiet but certain. Earth is still tearing itself apart. People don't trust each other. We argue over everything: land, borders, beliefs, skin color. We destroy our oceans, pollute the skies, build walls instead of bridges. And you want to invite us to join a galactic alliance? He turned to face her. Luna, we haven't even figured out how to live with each other yet. What makes you think we're ready for them? Luna nodded slowly. You're right. Earth isn't ready. That surprised him. He'd expected a rebuttal, some defense of her mission. But instead, she leaned forward and placed the star map disk back in her lap. It's true, she continued. Your species is fractured. You fight over imaginary lines, hoard wealth while others starve, chase comfort while ignoring pain. But you also create, more purely than any civilization we've ever studied. Keanu narrowed his eyes slightly. Create? Art, Luna said. Music, stories. Your capacity to imagine what could be, even when reality says otherwise. That's not common in the galaxy. She touched the disk again, and the projection reappeared. This time, not a map, but a sequence of brief, haunting images. Black and white footage of World War II, a mushroom cloud over Hiroshima, the smoke-choked streets of Sarajevo, a mother weeping on a dusty road in Syria, police dogs loosed on peaceful protesters in Alabama, tanks rolling through Tiananmen Square. Keanu's chest tightened. These were wounds, global ones, ones we had inflicted on ourselves. I've seen this before, he said. I know, Luna replied, but look closer. The images shifted again. A lone man standing before a tank. A girl placing flowers into a soldier's rifle. Firemen running into the burning towers of 9/11. Protesters linking arms. A child pulling another from rubble. Strangers building shelters after an earthquake. Music being played in the ruins. Luna looked up at him. You fall, she said, but you rise. You suffer, but you sing. You destroy, but you rebuild. That tension, that refusal to quit, is what the Dominion fears. Keanu watched the screen fade to black. They enslave worlds by convincing them they are weak, hopeless, broken, she said. But humans, you resist that narrative, again and again. You never give up, Luna repeated. That's what makes you dangerous to the Dominion. Keanu didn't respond right away. He walked slowly back to the chair and sat down. His hands were folded, fingers interlaced. There was something deep stirring in him, a kind of ache that didn't have a name. We have so much anger, he said, and fear. We turn on each other over things that don't matter. Luna nodded. And yet, when it truly matters, you don't turn away. She tapped the disk once more. This time, it showed images from Apollo 11, the Earth from space, the blue marble. Keanu stared at it. It looked so delicate, suspended in infinite black. When we studied you, Luna said, many on the council believed your kind was too reckless, too emotional. But I disagreed. I said emotion wasn't your weakness, it was your fuel. Keanu looked at her, unsure. She smiled softly. The Dominion suppresses emotion. They control order. Everything is neat, logical, precise. But they don't dream. They don't love, not like you do. That's why their victories feel hollow, and why yours echo across centuries. He ran a hand over his face, overwhelmed. So you're saying we're supposed to inspire the rest of the galaxy with heart? In a way, yes, Luna replied. Your survival hasn't come from strength. It's come from imagination, from belief. From the fact that even when things are at their worst, someone always stands up and says, we can do better. She looked down at her hands. You're not perfect. But perfection was never the goal. The Council doesn't need a flawless species. It needs one brave enough to grow. Keanu closed his eyes for a moment. He thought of the charity event from the night before. The kids, the laughter, the hope in their drawings. Then he thought of Luna. Small, pale, impossibly wise for someone so young. Or maybe not young at all. "I've always believed we could do more," he said. "Be more." But it never felt like anyone was listening. "We were," Luna whispered. Keanu opened his eyes. "And now what?" he asked. "Now," she said, "you decide whether you'll help us share that belief with the council. Whether Earth deserves to be heard." He nodded slowly. "Not in certainty, but in readiness." Luna reached out, placing the glowing disc back into his hands. "It's not about what humanity is now," she said. "It's about what you still have the courage to become." And for the first time since the encounter began, Keanu believed that might be enough. The hospital room was quiet, filled only with the hum of distant monitors and the steady breath of silence. Keanu sat beside Luna, still holding the glowing disc in his hand. His mind was spinning with everything she had shown him, everything he now knew. Before he could speak again, a new sound entered the room. A low vibration pulsed through the walls. It wasn't mechanical. It was melodic, like the sound of wind over strings. Then a voice spoke, calm, deep, resonant. "Keanu Reeves, you are acknowledged." He sat up straighter. Luna turned her head toward the voice and smiled faintly. "Who's that?" Keanu asked, scanning the room. There was no speaker, no intercom, just a presence felt as much as heard. "That is Axiom," Luna said. "He's my commander and my teacher." Keanu looked confused. "Where is he?" "Not far," she replied. "He's waiting on the Harmony." Keanu blinked. "Harmony? It's the name of our ship. It's in orbit right now. Watching. Waiting." The air shifted again and Axiom's voice returned. "We extend an invitation. If you are willing, we ask that you visit us, to witness, to understand, to decide." Keanu stood slowly. "You want me to come? To space?" Luna nodded. "Just for a short time. You'll be safe. You have my word." He hesitated. It wasn't fear exactly. It was the weight of the moment. The final step into a world he never imagined could be real. But Luna's calm, her clarity, it grounded him. "What happens if I say no?" he asked. Axiom's voice answered, "Then we thank you." And the choice returns to silence. Keanu looked at Luna again. She didn't beg, she didn't plead, she only said, "I believe in you." That was enough. He nodded once. "Okay, let's go." Luna reached toward the wall beside her bed. Her fingers brushed the surface, lightly, and a soft circle of light bloomed on the plain white paint. It expanded into a perfect oval, like a mirror rippling into liquid. On the other side was a softly glowing chamber, metallic yet organic. Curved walls pulsed gently with energy. Keanu stepped back in awe. Luna took his hand. "It won't hurt. It's just a phase gate. 30 seconds, that's all." "Are you sure I can come back?" he asked. She squeezed his hand gently. "You're not being taken, you're being invited." Together, they stepped through. The moment they crossed, Keanu felt his body shift, not with pain, but with a strange fluidity, like being carried forward by wind and memory. When his vision cleared, he stood in a chamber unlike anything he'd ever seen. The walls shimmered with translucent patterns, alive with light that danced like ripples on water. Air flowed easily, clean and sweet, filled with subtle fragrances he couldn't name. The ceiling above them stretched into a soft dome, where stars sparkled like they were just outside. They were aboard the Harmony. Luna stood beside him, her hospital gown now transformed into a shimmering silver robe that moved with her breath. Keanu looked around, his eyes widening. Dozens of beings moved through the space, None of them resembled humans exactly, but none were hostile. Some were tall and glowing, others small and crystalline. One floated in the air with wings of light. Another pulsed rhythmically like a jellyfish made of plasma. But they all did the same thing when they saw Keanu. They bowed, not deeply, not as to royalty, but as a sign of welcome, of respect. Axiom's voice returned, not from any one place, but from all around. You are among the council, Keanu Reeves. These are the observers, the guardians, the healers. Each represents a world still free. Each has waited for this moment. Keanu swallowed hard. They knew I was coming? 3 days? They may hoped, Luna said gently. A being approached. Its form was cloaked in a soft gold light, tall and serene, with no face, only presence. It spoke in a tone that vibrated in Keanu's chest. You carry no title, you seek no power. Yet you act with mercy, and your actions ripple wider than most wars. The Dominion counts power in fear. The Council counts it in hope. Which will your world choose? Keanu didn't speak. He couldn't. The weight of the room pressed on his spirit, not with pressure, but with meaning. Another figure stepped forward, smaller this time. Its body was shaped like overlapping petals of light. It raised a hand and projected an image, a moment from Keanu's life. He was giving a jacket to a man on the street, quietly, with no cameras. Another image, visiting a sick child. Another, lifting a fallen woman at a subway stop. These weren't performances, they were fragments, pieces of his truth. Luna whispered. They've seen you. Not just as a man, but as a mirror. Keanu looked at her. Why does it matter what I do? Because, she said, when one person chooses love over fear, it changes the frequency of the whole world. He turned to the council, and for the first time in his life, he didn't feel like an actor playing a role. He felt like a human being standing in his full truth. And they were listening. Keanu stood in the center of the council chamber, his breath steady, but his heart beating harder than he expected. Around him, the room remained still. The glowing beings of the council waited, not with pressure, but with respect. Luna stood quietly to his right, her eyes fixed on the gentle star map hovering above them. The harmony of the room, the soft tones in the air, all made it feel sacred, like he was standing in a cathedral built by stars. Then Axiom's voice spoke once more. You now understand what is at stake. If you say yes, the Council will begin open collaboration with Earth immediately. Knowledge will flow, technologies will be shared, barriers will fall. But the Dominion will see this as a threat. Their response will be swift. Earth will not be ignored. The shadows will move. Keanu's throat tightened. He looked again at the images Luna had shown him. Ruined worlds, enslaved populations, the red markers circling Earth like warning lights. And if I say no, he asked. Then we will retreat, Axiom replied. Silently. We will not interfere unless catastrophe breaches your solar system. We will leave seeds of guidance, whispers of help. But Earth will be left to grow alone. Perhaps for centuries. Perhaps forever. It was the weight of 2 impossible options. Keanu exhaled slowly, his voice barely above a whisper. Why me? Luna turned her head toward him. Because you're the one who listened when no one else would. Because you stopped for the child on the side of the road. You didn't ask what it meant for your schedule or your comfort. You just acted. That matters. He nodded, but the ache behind his eyes didn't fade. I'm an actor, a man. I can't decide this. I can't speak for the world. You speak for its best hopes, Axiom said gently. Not its governments, not its armies. For its conscience. Keanu turned and walked toward the edge of the chamber. There was no wall, only a transparent curve opening onto stars. Earth was visible below. Small, fragile, covered in clouds. He pressed his hand to the clear surface. "I'm not ready to say yes," he said. A murmur moved through the chamber, but there was no protest. "I'm not ready to say no either," he added. "But I know this. No one should decide alone. Not me, not any single human. We've done that too many times in our history and paid dearly for it." Luna stepped forward, her voice soft. "Then what do you suggest?" He turned back to face them. "Give me time. Let me speak to others, not politicians, not generals, the ones who still believe. Teachers, healers, elders, people who know what it means to fight for what's right without a weapon in their hand." Axion responded after a long silence. "You wish to form a circle?" Keanu nodded. "Not to delay, but to reflect what humanity still carries, not our fear, our potential." Axiom paused. The lights within the chamber dimmed slightly, as if the ship itself were considering Keanu's request. All around him, the council members exchanged soft pulses of light, silent communication that moved faster than words. Keanu waited without speaking. He wasn't trying to persuade them. He was simply offering what felt right. Then, the room slowly brightened. "It has been done before," Axiom said at last. "A circle of consultation was used during the trials of Ralvek, when two civilizations stood at the edge of alliance. A single voice could not carry their future. They chose 5, from different castes, worlds, and dreams." Luna's eyes lifted. "And it worked?" Axiom confirmed. "Barely, but it did." Keanu lowered his hand from the glass wall. "I don't want to form a government. I don't want power. I just want to ask people who have lived the cost of war and the price of hope. I want the decision to be rooted in love, in wisdom." "Then choose," Axiom replied. 5 voices, 5 lives, no more. They must be human, and they must be pure of agenda." Keanu's mind began to race. Who could he trust with something like this? Who would carry this moment without fear or fame clouding their view? "I'll need to return," he said, "not just physically. I need to be on the ground. I need to feel it again, our beauty and our brokenness." Luna stepped closer. "Then I will go with you." Axiom agreed. "You will have 7 Earth days. The phase gate will remain open, but after that, the council will call for resolution." Keanu turned that over in his mind. 7 days to gather 5 people who embodied humanity's best truth. 7 days to weigh the survival of Earth against the danger of revelation. "Understood," he said. The chamber shifted. A slow ripple passed through the ship, and the council members began to return to their stations, fading into corridors of light and energy. Luna placed her hand on Keanu's arm. "We'll need to be careful. If anyone from the Dominion is watching, they'll sense your shift. Your vibration has changed. You're no longer invisible." Keanu nodded. "I've never really wanted to be." She tilted her head. "That's what makes you ready, even if you think you're not." He looked out one last time at Earth. He thought of a farmer in Nebraska who lost his son and still planted seeds every spring, of a nurse in Detroit who stayed during the worst days of the pandemic, of a monk in the Rockies who spoke to animals with no words. He had a list to write and a world to ask permission from. The countdown had begun. The return to Earth was quiet, almost gentle. The phase gate reopened inside the same hospital room where it had first appeared, as if no time had passed. The lights were dim. Outside the window, the first hints of sunrise streaked across the Las Vegas sky. Keanu stepped through first, Luna close behind. Everything looked the same, but everything felt different. He no longer saw walls and ceilings. He saw thresholds, boundaries that could fall or rise depending on what came next. The Earth was no longer just home. It was a decision waiting to be made. Keanu sat on the edge of the hospital bed, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. "I need 5 people," he said softly. 5 lights that can guide something this big. Luna sat beside him. "Start with the ones who have nothing to gain. That's where truth lives." He nodded. A name came to mind instantly. Sister Marianne. A nun in rural Mississippi who had once fed him soup when he was lost on a road trip at 22. She had no phone, no social media, and no desire to be known. But she knew how to listen. Then came Dr. Rajiv Patel, a geneticist in Mumbai who gave up fame to open a free clinic. Keanu had met him during a film shoot years ago. They had shared a long talk about sacrifice and simplicity. Third, Mayor Carmen Ellis, a woman in her 70s from Albuquerque who had stopped a violent protest with nothing but a prayer and a folding chair. She didn't lead with force, she led with grace. Fourth, Samuel Wexler, a blind jazz musician in Chicago who played music under a bridge for the homeless. Keanu once stood silently and listened for an hour, unnoticed. The way Samuel made sound into hope, it stayed with him. And finally Julia, a 12-year-old girl from Oregon. She'd lost her entire family in a fire but spent her days writing letters to people in hospice. Keanu had donated anonymously to her fund. But now she would be part of something no child had ever faced. Una watched him write their names into a small notebook. "That's your circle?" she asked. He nodded. "Not the richest, not the loudest, but the clearest." A soft hum returned to the air. Axiom's voice echoed, distant but listening. "As the council accepts your proposal, your circle will be contacted. Your 7 days begin now." Keanu stood, his voice steady. "Then let's go find humanity's answer." The Nevada desert was quiet as the sun began to fall behind the red rocks. Keanu stood near an old ranger station, miles from the nearest paved road, waiting for the final member to arrive. The heat of the day lingered, but the breeze carried the promise of night. One by one they had come, by plane, by car, and in Julia's case, with her foster family's permission, and Luna by her side. Keanu had arranged it carefully. No cameras, no news coverage, just one unlisted location, one impossible conversation. Samuel Wexler stood near the edge of the ridge, his cane resting against a folding chair. His ears picked up every sound, the shuffle of footsteps, the faint whisper of the wind, and even the rhythm of Luna's breathing. He didn't speak, but his presence was calm, grounded. Dr. Rajiv Patel unpacked a small bag of instruments, mostly out of habit. He didn't expect to need them, but something in him wanted to be ready. Mayor Carmen Ellis had already taken charge of organizing chairs. She didn't like waiting, but she understood the weight of it. She had the bearing of someone who had stared chaos in the face and not blinked. Sister Marianne arrived quietly and offered no words, just a brief nod to Keanu, and then she sat beside Julia, taking the young girl's hand as if they had known each other for years. By the time the 6th chair was filled, the sun had dipped low enough to paint everything in amber. Keanu stood before them. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I know this sounds strange. I know you don't owe me anything. But what I'm about to tell you isn't fiction, and I need your help deciding what to do next." Dr. Patel folded his hands. "We're listening." Keanu glanced at Luna, who stood just behind him, eyes fixed on the group. He took a deep breath. "There is a council," he said. "Not of humans, of civilizations, across galaxies. They've been watching Earth for decades. One of their scout ships crashed. Luna is the only survivor." He paused. "She's not from Earth." A beat of silence followed. The group looked at him with a mix of patience and disbelief. Mayor Ellis leaned back, arms crossed. "You sure about that, Keanu? Because you're describing something that sounds like a screenplay." "I thought the same," he said, "until machines failed around her. Until I saw the star maps, until I stood on their ship. He turned slightly. Luna, if you're ready. The air shimmered. Then Luna stepped forward, eyes glowing faintly in the dimming light. A pulse of soft energy passed over the group, gentle but undeniable. Samuel tilted his head. That's not thunder. Luna stepped closer, her voice soft but clear. I am not here to harm you. I am not here to lead you. I am here because I believe you deserve the truth. She raised her hand. A disk of light appeared between her palms, shimmering, hovering, rotating slowly in the desert air. Images began to project in 3 dimensions, a view of Earth from orbit, then a rapid sequence of star systems, council worlds bathed in soft blue light, dominion worlds glowing red like coals. Gasps passed through the circle. Julia clutched Sister Marianne's hand tighter. Dr. Patel took a step forward, his scientific mind caught between awe and analysis. These are real? He asked. They are, Luna answered. This is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to prepare you. The image changed. Axiom appeared beside Luna, not physically, but as a projection, clear as if he were standing there in person. The others instinctively leaned back. He was tall, translucent, his voice echoing slightly with harmonic resonance. I am Axiom, he said. You are the circle your guardian proposed. We honor your presence. Mayor Ellis rose from her chair. You said guardian. You mean Keanu? Yes, Axiom replied. He is not a ruler, but he is aligned with the qualities we seek: empathy, courage, humility. He stopped for a stranger. He listened when others might have walked past. Samuel smiled faintly. Sounds like music to me. Luna continued. You have 7 Earth days to advise. The Council does not want a single voice. They want a reflection of humanity's heart. Carmen nodded slowly. Then let's talk. They did. For the next 4 hours, the 6 humans spoke around a circle lit by lanterns and stars. Dr. Patel posed questions about technological interference. Sister Marianne asked whether spiritual autonomy would be respected. Samuel wanted to know if art and culture would be protected. Mayor Ellis demanded to know what would happen if Earth said no. Julia sat quietly, then finally asked the question that froze everyone. Would help us if we were the ones being attacked? Luna's silence was her answer. The Dominion would not wait for permission. Keanu watched each of them wrestle with the weight. It wasn't fear he saw. It was responsibility, grief, wonder. The kind of emotions that came when you realized your world was bigger than you'd ever imagined. Eventually, Mayor Ellis stood. I'll say it, she said. We should join, but not as servants, not as subjects, as equals. The others nodded, one by one. We'll carry our weight, Dr. Patel added, but not be carried. Sister Marianne closed her eyes. We will not kneel. Keanu looked at Luna. She smiled. Keanu stepped forward, the firelight flickering across his face. You've all said yes, not blindly, not in fear, but with clarity. That matters more than anything. Luna's projection pulsed softly with light, then dimmed. She turned her gaze upward, and a ripple moved across the sky like a curtain lifting. High above, a barely visible arc shimmered in the night sky. The harmony, waiting in orbit. Axiom's voice returned, not loud, but present in every corner of the circle. We accept your decision. The Council honors the request for equality. Your terms are understood and agreed upon. The group looked around at one another, realizing the depth of what had just been said. Mayor Ellis smirked slightly. Well, I've signed a few agreements in my day. Never across galaxies, though. Keanu placed his notebook down in the center of the circle. It was open to the page where he had written their names. This will be remembered. Samuel nodded. If it's remembered in music, I'll compose it myself. Julia smiled at Luna. Does this mean it's really going to happen? Luna bent down beside her. Yes. And you helped make it real. Sister Marianne whispered a prayer, not in fear, but in gratitude. Not every day did faith and reality meet with such gentleness. Dr. Patel stepped away to look up at the stars. I wonder how many of them have already made their choices, and how many are still waiting for someone to ask. Keanu walked over to Luna. What happens now? She held up the glowing disc again. It pulsed once, then gently melted back into the air. Now, we begin preparing Earth. But not with war, Keanu said. No, Luna agreed. With unity. A wind moved through the desert, kicking up dust around their feet. But no one flinched. No one moved. It wasn't just a breeze. It felt like a beginning. Lights blinked again across the sky. The harmony was sending a message, a soft, rhythmic pulse, like a heartbeat. Earth had answered. Not in fear, not with weapons, but with a circle of strangers who had nothing in common except a deep belief in what humanity could be. Keanu turned back to the group. We'll keep this quiet, at least for now. Not everyone is ready to know. We'll be ready, Julia said. He looked at her and nodded. Yes, we will. And in that stillness, as the stars watched and the desert listened, something old fell away, and something ancient, something hopeful, began. 3 months had passed since the night in the desert. The world was no longer the same. It didn't happen overnight. At first, the announcement was met with disbelief. The council chose to reveal the truth not through governments but directly to the people, broadcasting signals through every device, every screen, every corner of Earth. There were no military displays, no hovering ships over cities, just images. Messages of peace, words translated into every language. At first, there was panic. Then came the silence, and slowly, wonder. Keanu stood beside a landing platform near Edwards Air Force Base, watching as a Zypherian vessel gently settled onto the surface. Its hull shimmered like water under moonlight. There was no smoke, no fire, no sound. Just presence. Beside him stood Luna. She was no longer a child. Her form had shifted into what her people considered adulthood. Taller now, regal. Her pale skin still held a soft glow, and her eyes retained the same calm intelligence. But there was a new weight to her presence. Dignified, graceful, and unapologetically alien. She wore a woven garment made from earth-grown materials and Zypherian biofiber. The pattern shimmered with both tribal symbols and binary code. She was Earth's first ambassador to the stars. Maybe listen to us now, she said softly. Keanu turned to her. Because of you. No, she said, because of all of you. Because you chose to listen first. The council had honored Earth's request. Equal partnership, not subservience. Teams of scientists from dozens of nations were now working side by side with beings from across the galaxy. Some projects focused on planetary defense, others on healing technologies, sustainable farming, clean energy sources that made fossil fuels obsolete overnight. And above them all, the Harmony waited in orbit, no longer a scout ship, but a beacon. In the last 90 days, humanity had gone from isolation to integration, and they weren't just observers anymore. They were contributors. But it wasn't smooth. There were skeptics, conspiracy theorists, leaders who tried to hoard information or suppress cooperation. But the circle, the 6 original advisors, had remained visible, accessible, and humble. They spoke not as rulers, but as guides. Sister Marianne returned to her convent, but now received visitors from every continent. Samuel played his music every week on a council frequency. His jazz broadcast from Harmony to hundreds of worlds. Dr. Patel helped build the first interstellar hospital. Mayor Ellis coordinated Earth's new contact protocol. Julia wrote stories, tales of wonder and courage, read by children on 3 planets. Keanu chose to stay out of politics. but people still looked to him. Keanu preferred the quiet roles, listening, guiding, helping others adjust. Not all changes were grand or cosmic. Some were personal, local, real. He helped build a transition center in Nevada where Zephyrians and humans could meet without cameras or pressure. School teachers came to learn, veterans came with questions, children came with dreams. One morning, he rode his motorcycle back down Boulder Highway, just as he had that day 3 months before. The sun hung low on the horizon, the same golden light painting the edges of the road. He slowed near the same curve. There was no child this time, only silence and sand and memory. He pulled over anyway. Stepping off the bike, he stood in the exact spot where Luna had first appeared, a lone figure on the edge of the world. He remembered the confusion, the stillness, her voice asking, "Are you the guardian they sent?" Now he understood. It wasn't about titles or roles. It was about showing up. He knelt and pressed his hand to the dirt. No ceremony, no cameras, just a man remembering a moment when everything changed, not just for him, but for everyone. Luna had chosen him not because he was famous or powerful, but because he stopped, because he cared. And now, the world was learning to care too. In the distance, a small Zephyrian transport passed overhead. It didn't roar, it glided. A child on a nearby bike pointed to the sky and waved. The ship tilted slightly, acknowledging the gesture. Keanu smiled. That was the future now, not one of invasion or domination, but of participation, of respect. He walked back to his bike and looked out across the horizon. Cities were changing, rural towns were adjusting. But the soul of humanity, its messiness, its beauty, its refusal to give up, was still intact. He remembered Luna's words, "You never give up. That's what makes you dangerous to the Dominion." It echoed in him, not as fear, but as responsibility. He wasn't naive. The Dominion was still out there, watching, planning. But Earth would not face it alone, and Earth would not kneel. From that one moment on a highway, a new age had begun. He put on his helmet and turned the key. The engine rumbled, soft and steady. He didn't need to go anywhere in particular. He just needed to keep moving, keep helping, keep showing up, because someone else might be waiting on the side of the road one day. And if they were, they'd stop again. As he rode back toward the city, Keanu passed construction sites where human and alien hands worked together. New schools were being built with hybrid learning systems. Energy hubs powered by zero-point cells, pulsed with clean light. Spaceports were rising outside major cities, not for war, but for travel, connection, and collaboration. News networks no longer argued about whether the council was real. Now, they asked how Earth would live up to the opportunity. It wasn't perfect. It never would be. But something had shifted. Keanu stopped one last time, this time at a children's hospital. He walked through the lobby unnoticed, just another visitor. He passed a waiting area filled with young patients staring at a screen. On it, Luna, now in her full adult form, spoke gently, explaining to kids across the planet what the galaxy was like. She didn't speak of danger. She spoke of possibility, of friendship, of courage. One little boy looked up and whispered, "She was just like us." Keanu smiled. That was the point. She had come as a child so Earth would listen with open hearts. She became an adult when Earth stood up to join her. Outside, he paused on the sidewalk. The stars above felt closer now, not just as pinpricks of light, but as neighbors, as responsibilities. Luna's voice echoed softly through his memory. "We are not here to save you. We are here to walk beside you, if you are willing." He took a deep breath and looked around. Yes, humanity was willing, and more importantly, humanity was ready. This wasn't the end of the story. It was only the beginning. What came next would test them, challenge them. But now they had allies, they had hope, and they had each other. A child alone on the highway had changed the fate of the world. And it all started because one man didn't look away. Before you go, if this story moved you, tell me, would you have stopped on that road? Do you believe humanity is ready to stand with others beyond the stars? Let me know in the comments. And if you believe kindness, courage, and connection can change the future, subscribe for more incredible stories that remind us what we're capable of. Thank you for watching.